At a prestigious bank in downtown Chicago, the morning rush hums with quiet efficiency. Customers shuffle through gleaming glass doors, greeted by the scent of fresh coffee and the low murmur of financial transactions taking place. Tellers dressed in crisp uniforms move swiftly, processing deposits, withdrawals, and transfers with precision. For most, it is just another day at the bank until a routine transaction exposes a deeply ingrained problem. Elijah Carter, a visionary entrepreneur and the CEO of Carter Financial, steps forward toward the counter, his movements calm and assured. Rising from humble beginnings, he built this institution from the ground up, turning it into one of the most respected financial firms in the country. His name is synonymous with success. Yet today, in the very bank he founded, he finds himself treated not as a leader, but as a suspicious outsider. Dressed in a tailored yet understated outfit, he exudes quiet confidence, though nothing about his appearance signals the immense power he holds. This bank is his creation, built from years of perseverance and strategic vision. Yet today, he stands here, not as a leader, but as a customer seeking a simple transaction. He has done this countless times before stepping into a financial institution, expecting the professional service promised to all customers. However, today is different. Instead of a warm greeting, he is met with an icy stare. The teller barely glances at his ID before dismissing him outright, her expression unreadable, but her message unmistakable. The atmosphere in the bank shifts subtly, the tension rising as he questions the sudden refusal. Murmurs spread among nearby customers as security is discreetly called. Within moments, he is confronted, instructed to leave as if he were a criminal attempting fraud. His request is no different from those processed just minutes before, yet he is being treated as an anomaly, a threat. Meanwhile, white customers continue to withdraw large sums without resistance. The contrast is stark, yet not surprising. Banking discrimination is a well-documented issue in the U.S., with countless reports and studies highlighting the racial disparities in financial institutions. The ease with which some customers access their funds while others are met with scrutiny is not just an isolated incident, it is part of a larger pattern ingrained in the system. A man in a tailored suit strolls past, $20,000 in crisp bills safely tucked into his pocket, without so much as a second glance from the staff. The disparity is glaring, yet no one intervenes. What the bank staff doesn't realize, however, is that they have just made a grave mistake. This man isn't just any customer. He is Elijah Carter, the CEO and founder of the very bank that has just denied him service. And today, he is about to remind them exactly who holds the power in this institution. A shocking encounter. Elijah steps into Carter Financial at exactly 9 a.m. The morning sun casts golden reflections across the polished floors, and a slight chill in the air reminds him that autumn has arrived. The scent of freshly brewed coffee wafts through the space as tellers greet well-dressed customers with friendly smiles. Employees in tailored suits move efficiently behind the counters, assisting clients with a smoothness that only comes from years of experience. The bank hums with quiet efficiency exactly as Elijah had always intended when he built this institution from nothing. But today, he is not here as a CEO. No board meetings, no media interviews, just a simple $15,000 withdrawal from his personal account. He walks with confidence, yet nothing about his attire signals power. A neatly pressed light blue button-down shirt, khaki pants, and spotless sneakers, an outfit that allows him to blend seamlessly into the morning crowd. He prefers it this way. Sometimes, it's important to step back and see how his bank operates from a customer's perspective. As he approaches the counter, his sharp eyes notice a middle-aged white man ahead of him, dressed in a charcoal gray blazer. The teller assisting him, a young woman with perfectly styled blonde hair, smiles warmly. Her tone is light, almost cheerful, as she hands over neat stacks of bills without hesitation. Elijah discreetly catches a glimpse of the transaction, slip $20,000. The customer pockets the money, nods in appreciation, and strolls toward the exit, completely unbothered. Elijah exhales slowly, his fingers curling slightly at his sides. He has witnessed this scenario before. The stark contrast in treatment. The silent bias that dictates who is given trust without question and who is made to prove their legitimacy over and over. He has felt it before, this unspoken hierarchy that dictates who belongs and who does not. But today, more than ever, he refuses to let it go unnoticed. As he steps forward, he adjusts his stance, his mind already preparing for what may come next. He knows, deep down, that this is about to be one of those days, one that reveals more about the people around him than they realize about themselves. A teller's disrespect. Stepping forward, Elijah reaches the counter and meets Amy Richardson, the teller on duty. Unlike the warm smile she gave the previous customer, her expression is cold and dismissive. She doesn't greet him, doesn't acknowledge his presence beyond what is necessary. Instead, she pushes a clipboard toward him without making eye contact. "Fill this out," she says flatly, her tone lacking any trace of warmth or professionalism. Elijah complies, quickly filling out the withdrawal slip and handing over his ID. He has done this countless times before, but today feels different. There is an unmistakable tension in the air, an undercurrent of something unspoken. He watches Amy as she barely glances at his ID before shoving the form back across the counter, her expression unreadable but her actions loud and clear. "We can't process this," she states curtly, her arms folding across her chest in a defensive posture. Elijah frowns, a sense of unease creeping up his spine. "Excuse me." She exhales sharply, as if his question alone is an inconvenience. "We don't handle large cash withdrawals like this." His brow furrows. "I just watched that man leave with more than I requested," he says, gesturing toward the exit where the previous customer had strolled out moments ago, unbothered and unquestioned. Amy stiffens, her lips pressing into a thin line. "That's different. How exactly?" Elijah asks, his voice calm, but carrying an edge of restrained irritation. For the first time, Amy hesitates. Her fingers tap against the counter in an almost nervous rhythm before she casts a quick glance toward the glass-walled office in the back. There, standing with arms crossed and an expression of quiet scrutiny, is Victoria Sanders, the branch manager. It's a silent exchange, but one that speaks volumes. The approval from her superior emboldens Amy, and when she turns back to Elijah, her confidence has returned. She straightens her posture and, without another word, crosses her arms tightly against her chest. "We can't process this transaction," she repeats, her tone leaving no room for debate. Elijah watches her carefully. He's seen this tactic before, the way bias operates under the guise of protocol. The way obstacles appear only for some, while others move through the world unencumbered. He knows exactly what is happening, and he knows that this moment will define more than just his morning. It will reveal the character of the people standing before him. An unjustified escalation. Elijah knows this game. He has played it all his life, navigating spaces where he is expected to prove himself over and over. The unspoken rules that dictate who must jump through hoops and who is given trust without question. But today he is done playing along. When he challenges the double standard, Amy's expression shifts. The initial flicker of uncertainty in her eyes vanishes, replaced with something colder. "I need to get my manager," she snaps, her voice clipped. Minutes later, Victoria Sanders emerges from her office, her heels clicking against the polished floor with a deliberate precision. She approaches the counter, her expression polite but exuding authority. It is the look of someone accustomed to control, someone who expects compliance. "Good morning, sir," she begins, her tone sickly sweet with just a hint of condescension. "I understand you're trying to make a large withdrawal today." "Yes," Elijah replies evenly, keeping his voice steady. "For security purposes, we need to verify additional information," she states smoothly, as if this is just routine protocol. Elijah exhales slowly, his patience wearing thin. "You mean my information? Because clearly, you didn't need to verify anything for the previous customer." A small pause. A flicker of something in her gaze, hesitation, annoyance, before her mask of professionalism snaps back into place. I need you to cooperate, Mr. Carter, she says, her tone edged with warning. A short, humorless chuckle escapes Elijah's lips. Cooperate. He repeats the word as if tasting it, as if dissecting its meaning. I've given you everything you need, and you're still looking for a reason to refuse me. That's not protocol. That's profiling. Victoria's jaw tightens slightly, her nostrils flaring. For a brief moment, something flickers across her face: hesitation, perhaps even doubt, but it vanishes as quickly as it appears. Years of navigating corporate politics have taught her how to maintain control, how to silence any internal conflict before it surfaces. She tells herself she is simply following protocol, upholding security measures. Yet a small voice in the back of her mind wonders if she would have reacted differently had the man standing before her looked more like the other high-net-worth clients she serves daily. But she doesn't let herself dwell on it. Instead, she steels herself, her professional mask firmly back in place, as she moves forward with the decision she's already made. Then, without a word, she turns her head and makes a small, almost imperceptible motion. A signal. Elijah doesn't need to turn around and know what happens next. Heavy footsteps approach from behind, the dull thud of boots against tile. A presence looms beside him: Ethan Reynolds, the security guard, tall and broad-shouldered, his posture rigid with expectation. Ethan doesn't hesitate. He places a firm hand on Elijah's forearm, gripping just tight enough to send a message. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave," he says, his voice deliberately neutral, almost robotic. Elijah doesn't move immediately. His heart pounds, but his face remains impassive. He has been in this position before. He knows what comes next. The entire bank is watching now: employees, customers, all pretending to be busy, but unable to ignore the unfolding confrontation. Somewhere near the customer service desk, a woman shifts uncomfortably, her hand tightening around the strap of her purse. A teller at the far end glances toward Victoria, waiting for confirmation before proceeding with his next transaction. Elijah looks Ethan in the eyes. "You're removing me for trying to access my own money?" His voice is calm, but the weight of the moment presses down on the room like an impending storm. Victoria doesn't answer. Ethan doesn't waver. Elijah's muscles tense just a fraction of an inch before he feels the push. It isn't violent, but it is firm, deliberate. He stumbles back half a step, his shoulder colliding against Ethan's broad frame before the guard redirects him toward the entrance. Another push, this time harder. A gasp cuts through the silence. A murmur ripples through the crowd, but no one intervenes. The glass doors swing open, and the crisp morning air hits Elijah's face as he stumbles onto the sidewalk. A moment later, something small and hard clatters at his feet. His ID proof of exactly who he is tossed to the ground like an afterthought. The power shift. Elijah picks up his phone and makes a single call. "David, I need you at the Chicago branch. Now." 15 minutes later, a sleek black car pulls up. David Mitchell, the senior executive of Carter Financial, steps out. Unlike Victoria's performative authority, David's leadership is real, earned through experience and integrity. He strides through the bank, eyes cold as steel. Victoria rushes to greet him, forcing a smile. "Mr. Mitchell, I wasn't expecting—" "You weren't expecting to get caught," David interrupts. "That's what you weren't expecting." Victoria flounders. "Sir, there's been a misunderstanding." "Oh, there's no misunderstanding," David says, glancing at Elijah. "The only thing I don't understand is why my CEO was just thrown out of his own bank." A dead silence falls. Amy pales. Ethan stiffens. The other tellers freeze. David's tone sharpens. "Tell me, Victoria, did you even check his account before denying him service?" Victoria swallows hard. "Sir, yes or no?" Her silence says it all. David sweeps his gaze across the room, taking in the stunned expressions of the staff and customers alike. A few tellers exchange nervous glances, their hands frozen over keyboards. Some customers shift uncomfortably, suddenly aware that they have witnessed something far more significant than an everyday banking dispute. Near the customer service desk, an elderly woman clutches her handbag, her eyes darting between David and Victoria as if debating whether to say something. A younger man in a business suit, who had been checking his phone moments earlier, now watches intently, his expression unreadable. The weight of the moment settles over the room, thick and heavy, as everyone realizes they are about to witness the kind of reckoning that rarely happens in places like this. Effective immediately, you're fired. He turns to Ethan. And you? If I ever hear about security enforcing racial biases under my leadership, you'll be answering legally. Victoria flushes red, a mix of anger, embarrassment, and something deeper, perhaps regret. For the first time, she feels the weight of her actions, the realization that she has miscalculated not just her authority, but the consequences of her bias. Yet, she clings to the instinct to defend herself, her voice tight as she blurts out, "This is unnecessary." Elijah finally speaks. "Unnecessary?" He scoffs. "You had me thrown out like a criminal. You refused to even look at my ID. You knew exactly what you were doing." David nods at Jamal Brooks, the black security guard who had silently witnessed everything. "Jamal, you're promoted. Effective today." Jamal's eyes widen in shock. "Sir," David simply states, "you deserve better than working under people like this." With that, David turns back to Elijah. "Do you want this branch cleaned out?" Elijah doesn't hesitate. "Completely." David nods. "Everyone involved in this incident will undergo mandatory bias training, including security." Victoria opens her mouth to protest, but the damage is done. The consequences have arrived. Elijah steps forward, reclaiming his place at the counter. The air in the bank is thick with tension, a charged silence stretching between the employees and customers alike. Eyes flicker toward him, some wide with shock, others deliberately averted, unsure whether to acknowledge what just transpired. A few of the tellers seem frozen, their hands hovering over keyboards, uncertain whether to continue their tasks or wait for further instruction. The quiet hum of the bank has been replaced by an uneasy stillness, as if the very institution itself is holding its breath, waiting to see what comes next. This time, his withdrawal is processed without argument. As he takes the cash, he slides a portion toward Jamal. "Take the day off," Elijah says simply. Jamal hesitates before accepting it. He knows, just like Elijah, that this isn't just about one bad experience. It's about something bigger, something systemic. Elijah turns to Victoria one last time, his gaze unwavering. "You should check my ID," he says, his voice steady but firm. "Not just for me, but for every person who comes in here expecting fairness and respect. Because this isn't just about one mistake, it's about the kind of institution you choose to run. And today, you've shown exactly what that is." He lets the words hang in the air, making sure the weight of them settles before turning to leave. "You should have checked my ID," he says, his voice steady but weighted with meaning. "Not just for me, but for every person who walks through these doors expecting fairness and respect." Then, without another word, he turns and walks out. This time, no one dares to stop him. Then, without another word, he walks out. This time, no one dares to stop him. Lessons from Elijah Carter's story. A powerful message on justice and equality. Elijah Carter's experience at his own bank is more than just a shocking encounter. It is a reflection of the systemic issues still prevalent in our society. His story sheds light on the biases and challenges that many individuals face, even when they have proven their worth and integrity. It serves as a striking example of how systemic discrimination can manifest in unexpected places, revealing the urgent need for societal change. Beyond being a singular event, Elijah's experience represents a broader struggle that many people endure daily. It reminds us that injustice is not always loud and overt. It can be subtle, ingrained, and carried out under the guise of policies or procedures. It calls upon all of us to reflect on the way we perceive others, the assumptions we make, and the silent complicity that allows discrimination to continue. This story is not just about one individual's battle against prejudice, but a testament to the power of resilience and taking a stand. It underscores the importance of integrity, determination, and leadership in the face of adversity. Elijah's decision to confront the discrimination he faced instead of quietly accepting it sets an example for those who find themselves in similar situations, highlighting that silence is not the answer. His experience serves as both a warning and an inspiration, urging us to challenge the norms that perpetuate inequality and to advocate for a society where fairness is not a privilege but a right. It is a call to action for institutions to evaluate their own policies, for individuals to recognize their biases, and for communities to work together toward meaningful change. Key lessons from the story. 1. Bias still exists, even in places of progress. Despite being the CEO of the very institution he built, Elijah was judged by his appearance rather than his accomplishments. This highlights the reality that racial bias is still deeply ingrained in many systems, even in industries that claim to uphold fairness. His story is a stark reminder that success does not always shield individuals from discrimination, and that systemic bias can exist even in environments that promote diversity and inclusion. The banking industry, in particular, has a long history of racial disparities in lending, investment opportunities, and customer treatment. Elijah's experience reflects the ongoing struggle for equality in financial institutions, where implicit biases often dictate who is considered trustworthy and who is deemed suspicious. The fact that a man of his stature and accomplishments still faced such treatment raises a crucial question. If someone like Elijah Carter, with his wealth and influence, can be subjected to discrimination, what happens to the everyday individuals who lack the power to challenge these injustices? His story brings to light the countless untold experiences of others who may have been denied access, questioned unfairly, or treated unjustly based solely on prejudiced assumptions. By acknowledging and addressing these biases, institutions can begin to break down the barriers that perpetuate inequality. Elijah's story is not just about one moment in a bank, it is a call to action for all industries to evaluate their practices, educate their employees, and create policies that truly ensure fair treatment for all customers, regardless of their background or appearance. 2. Power lies in holding others accountable. Elijah did not let injustice go unchecked. Instead of walking away, he took action and ensured that those responsible face consequences. His approach teaches us the importance of accountability in both personal and professional spaces. Holding others accountable is not just about punishment. It is about creating a culture where fairness, justice, and integrity are expected and enforced. When people in power abuse their authority or discriminate against others, it is up to individuals like Elijah to demand change. His decision to challenge the bank's actions set an important precedent, showing that discrimination cannot be tolerated, especially in institutions that are meant to serve the public. Accountability also extends beyond the workplace and into society. If people fail to challenge injustice when they see it, they indirectly allow it to persist. Elijah's story is a reminder that true progress only happens when individuals take action, whether by calling out unfair treatment, supporting those who are marginalized, or pushing for policy changes that promote equality. Furthermore, his response highlights the importance of using one's influence to make a difference. Instead of settling the matter quietly or brushing it off as an isolated incident, he made sure that those involved faced real consequences. His actions reinforce the idea that people in leadership positions have a responsibility to use their power for good, ensuring that their industries and institutions uphold ethical standards. Ultimately, this story reminds us that injustice thrives in silence. When people refuse to accept mistreatment and instead demand accountability, they create ripples of change that can impact an entire system. Elijah's stance is a call to action for all of us to speak up, take responsibility, and make fairness the standard, not the exception. 3. True leadership means taking a stand. Elijah could have quietly handled the matter behind closed doors, avoiding attention and settling the matter in private. Yet, he understood that silence allows injustice to thrive. Rather than accepting the status quo, he chose to make a bold statement, confronting the issue directly and ensuring that the institution responsible for discrimination was held accountable. His decision underscores the idea that leadership is not just about personal success, it is about using influence to challenge and dismantle unfair systems. True leadership means having the courage to address uncomfortable realities. Elijah's stance demonstrates that leaders must be willing to take risks and step into difficult conversations. Instead of shielding himself from controversy, he placed himself at the forefront of change, showing that real progress requires action, not just words. His example challenges other leaders in business, government, and society to examine their own roles in perpetuating or dismantling systemic issues. Furthermore, his response reinforces the idea that leadership is not about titles or power, it is about the impact one has on others. Elijah did not just advocate for himself. He took a stand for every person who has faced similar treatment but lacked the ability to fight back. His choice to address the situation publicly sent a message that discrimination, in any form, should never be tolerated, especially in institutions that are meant to serve all people equally. This story also highlights the power of visibility. When leaders take a stand against injustice, they inspire others to do the same. Elijah's actions resonated beyond the walls of that bank, prompting conversations, policy changes, and increased awareness about implicit bias in financial institutions. His leadership serves as a beacon for others who seek to create a fairer, more inclusive society. Ultimately, this lesson reminds us that leadership is measured not just by achievements, but by the willingness to stand up for what is right. Elijah Carter proved that real change happens when people refuse to accept discrimination as an inevitable reality and instead use their voices to challenge injustice. His story is a call to action for all of us to be the kind of leaders who drive positive transformation, no matter the obstacles we face. 4. Systemic change requires collective effort. This story is not just about one man's experience. It represents a broader issue affecting many people. It encourages us to be vigilant in challenging discriminatory practices and supporting policies that promote equality. True change does not happen in isolation. It requires a collective effort from individuals, communities, businesses, and policymakers alike. If we remain passive in the face of injustice, the systems that allow discrimination to persist will continue unchallenged. By standing together, we create a stronger, unified voice that demands fairness and justice for all. One of the most powerful ways to drive systemic change is through education and awareness. Stories like Elijah's serve as crucial reminders of the work that still needs to be done. When people recognize patterns of inequality and understand their impact, they're more likely to advocate for policies and cultural shifts that promote fairness. Collective action also means holding institutions accountable. Businesses and financial institutions must take a hard look at their practices, identifying biases and implementing real, tangible changes to ensure equity in all customer interactions. Governments must enforce policies that prevent discriminatory behavior, and communities must remain engaged in conversations that push for these reforms. Perhaps most importantly, systemic change requires perseverance. Moments of progress may be followed by setbacks, but the push for justice must remain steady. Each conversation, protest, policy reform, and active advocacy contributes to a larger movement, one that seeks to create a world where stories like Elijah's become a thing of the past rather than a present-day reality. No single person can change the world alone, but when people unite around a cause, real transformation happens. This is not just Elijah Carter's fight, it is all of ours. 5. People notice, but not everyone acts. Throughout the story, bystanders witnessed the injustice, but hesitated to intervene. This reflects a common societal issue. People are often aware of discrimination, but fail to speak up. Many feel uncomfortable addressing these situations, fearing retaliation, social discomfort, or believing that someone else will step in. However, silence often enables injustice to persist. The bystanders in Elijah's story represent a larger reality. Many people recognize bias and mistreatment, but do not act because they assume it is not their place to interfere. This inaction can be as harmful as the discrimination itself. If people do not step up when they witness wrongdoing, it reinforces the idea that such behavior is acceptable or unavoidable. A key lesson here is the power of collective action. Even a single voice speaking up can change the course of an event. If one of the bystanders had intervened, it might have shifted the entire situation. People need to recognize that they have the ability and responsibility to challenge unfairness in their communities, workplaces, and daily lives. Furthermore, this moment highlights the importance of allyship. True allies do not remain passive observers. They use their privilege, platform, or influence to support those facing discrimination. It is not enough to acknowledge injustice. We must take action to correct it. Whether it is calling out unfair treatment, advocating for policy change, or simply refusing to stay silent, every action contributes to a culture of accountability and fairness. Ultimately, Elijah's story challenges us to ask ourselves, what would we have done in that moment? Would we have spoken up, or would we have looked away? The answer to that question defines not only our values, but also the kind of society we want to build. Elijah Carter's experience is not just a story, it's a wake-up call. How many times have similar incidents happened to others who did not have the power to fight back? His story reminds us that change begins with awareness, discussion, and action. At Toch Story, we are committed to bringing you powerful narratives that spark conversation and inspire change. If you believe in justice, fairness, and the importance of standing up for what is right, support our mission by liking this video to spread awareness, subscribing to Toch Story to receive new impactful stories, turning on notifications so you never miss an important lesson, sharing this story to help others understand the power of accountability and leadership. Together, we can shine a light on important issues and be a part of the change we wish to see. Thank you for being part of this movement. Subscribe now and stay tuned for more inspiring stories.